Welcome back to Old Thought, New Assumption. This is the podcast that shares candid, open, and sometimes vulnerable conversations. We're your host. I'm Victor.
And I'm Brandon. Today we're talking about how financial independence plays into individualism, relationships, family, and lifestyle. And we'll dive into job satisfaction. All sorts of things I know you all are going to really enjoy. So without further ado, let's jump right into the episode.
Hope you all like it. And if you do, leave a comment and make sure to check out all our other episodes. There are links in the description so you can check out our TikTok or Instagram. I'm sure all of you are going to get a lot out of this conversation. So we'll see you in a second when it starts. Peace. So how about job satisfaction? You know, we hear about the importance of finding work that aligns with our values and our passions. So share a little bit about what job satisfaction means to you and how you pursued it in your career, because we think that they are mutually exclusive, right? Financial independence, you got to get your money from somewhere. So in order to really thrive, you have to be in a job that you're satisfied with, that's paying you a good wage.
Job satisfaction is, I don't even want to say the moniker that people doing something that you love, and it's like, yeah, I don't love working. I don't think anybody can actually say that they love working. But job satisfaction is one, being able to come in and, in my opinion, be yourself in the environment that you are in, and bring your whole self to work, whether it's your personality, whether it's the way that you think in real time, whether it's inside the box or outside the box, but being present for that role and not just being, let's say, Homer Simpson, where he just goes to the
he was
place,
satisfied though.
right?
He went every day. He never did not go.
Press the one button and kick back, and it's like, okay, yeah, I couldn't do that. But job satisfaction for me is being able to manage and develop people and see them grow and being able to pull things outside of them that they didn't know was present in themselves. I am a big believer in being able to identify talent, and I think I also have the very good eye for forethought, if you will, of where people can be if they allow themselves to be vulnerable and open to development. So that's job satisfaction for me. Being able to show up, develop people, work with a team of people, see success happen within them, whether it's small or whether it's seismic. That's satisfaction to me.
All right.
What about
How
you?
have you? What'd you say?
What about you?
It's interesting. I think job satisfaction is more of a diversifying what you value. Right. I think I've gotten caught up into this where I've identified so much with who I was at work, where I was bringing all myself to work and, climbing that ladder and networking and getting this promotion after this promotion. You get so wrapped up in defining who you are in that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have realized over time is that persona is completely, that persona did not spill over into how I manage my personal life, the rigor of my personal life. Now, I really valued it because it let me live a personal life that I love, right? It gave me status, and I felt good with that. But over time, I realized that that is really not who I want to be. So I think for me, it's kind of changed. Job satisfaction now for me is now purposeful. I don't get a sense of purpose from it anymore. Right? It is simply an economic thing that I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, job satisfaction it's what I do is good enough. And that that is it, and that is all. It's good enough. All right.
See, I stopped chasing titles a long time ago.
Yeah.
The title is going to naturally come to me, in my opinion. Whether it's somebody that says, "Hey, you know what? You've done a great job in this avenue or this facet of the business. We'd love to see you make impact over here." Uh, but no matter where I am, I'm always going to make an impact, and that's because I have futuristic thinking. People can't. There's a saying, some people can't see the forest from the trees. I can see past the trees. I got a legend in my mind, right? And sometimes people can't come along fast enough with me, and they be like, "Oh, that's so crazy. What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, just because you can't see it, don't mean that I can't see it. Now, if it ain't your time to come along with me, it ain't your time to come along with me. But when you get there, that's when it's gonna be my aha moment and say, "See, I told you." And after you see enough of those stack up, be like, "All right, let me trust this guy. Let me follow this guy."
Yeah.
But then I'm also vulnerable enough to say, "Hey, I missed the mark." But then I'm also confident enough to say, "Hey, I could have been right as well." And I don't strike out a lot. I hit a lot of home runs, and that's the testament for it in itself, man. But job satisfaction is what you make it. Um, I think it's one of those where if you're not chasing what you what you think people think you should be, that's where you get your satisfaction at.
Yeah.
Where you're like, let me just hone in on myself. Let me do what I can do today. And then I cut it off at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I come
Yeah.
back and do it again. And I'm gonna go a little bit harder the next day.
Yeah.
But that's how I look at it.
I've been fortunate enough to not be in day-to-day business operations, right? Where it is for a very long time, it's easy to cut it off and not
Yeah.
literally think about it until I have to think about it.
Yeah.
And because it for me it's more about the environment that I can thrive in, like as far as like like the work that we're doing, I know that I can thrive in it because my skills are going to bubble up, and it's not, I don't have to get accolades from anyone,
Yeah.
right? Like wars and all. I think if you start stacking too many of those silly little tchotchkes on your desk, it could create a
Pay
little,
me.
huh?
Just pay me.
Yeah, you know what it does? It puts an anchor. You stay right there. Okay, you stay right there. And yeah, so it's for me, it's more about, all right, what are we actually working on? What technology are we trying to evangelize? What are we trying to integrate? What are we trying to stand up? And what role am I playing in that? I like that role that I'm playing in that. Right. And just like the last initiative that I was on, where I think you brought up something about knowing even after the fact, hindsight is 2020, and you know that you were right. I just had this aha moment. I was I subscribed to this really cool, I think it's cool, new newsletter, and it's called the TLDR, right? And they were talking about like customer success is something that, and customer engagement and feedback and all that. That's something that really fires me up because I think there's a lot of opportunity there to build new products, to build new features, and build new services. And if you listen to the client, you can really figure out like what to do next. But sometimes in that realm, you have something called like what they call it, the Net Promoter Score, right? I think that people love to see NPS. And one thing that we were talking about is that NPS is such a stagnant survey, right? It's a survey that pretty much says it's a referral system. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer X business to your neighbors, friends, or loved ones? Right?
Why have they never changed that? That's been the typical question for the last whatever.
Because it's all about because it's all about marketing. It's all about the referral network. But to your point, that right there is what I had a lot of seasoned veterans. They were the one to double click on that so much. What does NPS says? And in this instance, it was called CPS, client promoter score. Same crap. And really, what I wanted to look at was CES, client's experience score.
Yeah.
What are the friction points? How difficult is it for someone to do something? Because those surveys are more random, right? They're randomized. They're not, because sometimes you can get a survey when you're having a bad day. Someone pissed you off and they called you the wrong day. Or they sent you that email the wrong. You know what? Yeah, I wouldn't. Not today. Hold on first. Hello. I am recording the podcast. Why am I recording it? Because I want to. Who does it? I do it. What do you mean? It's the podcast that me and Brandon are doing. You would think after the 4th attempt. Right? I'm busy. So anyway, but the point is that the article was saying that CES is more important, right? It brings more value. And it was to the point where I had done the project successfully because I have the skill set to do it. But I knew I was right about the fucking CES. Yep. I knew I was right about the CES. And I was like, and everyone was shutting it down because they could not understand it. The fact that we didn't have enough minds to cultivate that idea. That was the greatest struggle. Yeah. Right? It's just like, I'm going to still talk about this as a lagging indicator. This is still going to be in the deck. Okay, because it is valuable, and I would talk about the CPS, and all I can say is that I can't tell you what part of the website they don't enjoy and why they would not promote this to their neighbor. But if I look at their CES, I can see on most days they're on cost basis. Oh, what about that cost basis? It's in the text. Oh, at X brokerage, we were able to do this, but now that we're here, we can't. That's why we got a 5 on this. Okay. And let me compare this to how much money this person has with us. Oh, they're valuable. They have 2 million with us. How many other I can segment this and say how many other 2 million have this score? We can get to something. So then we can build a business case that says, you know what? A lot of our users who have X amount of money give these scores about their experience. There are friction points. So why don't we double click on this part of our website and start to iterate, right? Start to the old school saying brainstorm. But when you don't have those transformational mindsets there, yeah, that's where it's just like, all right, yeah, I don't feel like I won this. But then when you read an article like that, it's like, yeah, I won that. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. But I'm in that space, and that's why it's good enough because you're satisfied because you get to think like that, right? And so it's just like the art of possible. But if I'm in a role where I'm so laser focused on the day to day, there's no room for that.
Yeah,
And so you can pay me whatever, but I wouldn't be satisfied.
gotcha.
You know?
Well, your generation is a little bit different, so uh, totally get you.
Mm.
Totally get you.
So, all right. And I think that brings us to another thing. Like financial independence can mean different things to different people. From having enough savings to retire early and simply be able to live comfortably without worrying about money. Right. So, what does financial independence look like in your life? And what steps have you taken to work towards it?
Um, I'm gonna just speak to people that are listening. Um, Tips for success there and steps that I've taken is one. No matter where you are, if your company offers a 401k and a matching 401k, you need to invest into your 401k. Take advantage of it because if you're not doing that model of financial means, you're leaving money on the table, essentially. So even if your company matches up to 6% or 4%, but you only put in 1%, they're going to at least match that 1% that you were putting in. And that's money that you did not have. Now, if you don't do anything, you're leaving that on the table. And then don't let your company have a profit sharing piece that happens every year. So if you've invested, 1% or 2% into your 401k for the year, and whatever your salary is, they pay you, let's say, 6% of whatever your salary was for that year. If you were not invested in your 401k, you just lost not only 1% every paycheck, but you lost an additional 6% of free money for that year, right? So you should definitely always do that. So that's the first thing that I always do for any job that I go into. I invest into the 401k, but I also play in the market. So while I save money in my own savings account, I save money into my 401k, and then I make sure that I go in and play with the uh, different investments within that financial mode itself, so that I can potentially keep myself above 10 to 15% earnings every single year. And that's just taking maybe an hour a year to look at, hey, what happened last year for this, or what are they planning over the next 3 years for this to grow in this fund? If it's 5%, 7%, great. If it's more than that, even better. Let me go ahead and put a little bit of money there and divert money that way. Um, but then it's also making sure that you make smart business decisions about how you do go about spending money. Uh, Not necessarily advocating for this, but using credit cards is a very good tool for me because I'm able to spend
Savvy.
money, get points, and pay it off, but also have a stash or cachet of points to the side. So if I do have to go on a trip, I'm able to pull 200,000 points and pay for a certain percentage of that. Instead of using a debit card, because a debit card makes you nothing in
Oh
return.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so things like that. But then I also look at the stupid spins, and what I call a stupid spin is, for instance, cable. I haven't had paid cable since 2012.
Yeah. I mean,
Paying these companies $117, $128 a month, to look at 1,000 channels that I don't look at. And they're cracking down on it now. You see Netflix is going to a piece where you can't share your password, or if you want to share, and it's not on the same IP address, you have to pay whatever amount you have to pay. But being able to go that route and say, hey, here are my a la carte channels that I want to look at. and I am willing to give you $5 a month for this, $6 a month for this, but I'm not giving you $127 a month, over $1,300 a year. I'm not giving you that. You can't have that,
Happen.
right? So I was looking at different things like that. Also other piece for me, um, financial independence was knowing that, hey, I don't have to have top designer clothes. I don't have to have that. That's something that was very superficial, in the sense that, I don't need to go out and get a Bottega or
A
Montclair,
what?
a Bottega.
What's
Uh,
that?
just Google it, man. Uh,
The bodega.
a Bottega, I think it's called Bottega, right? A Bottega, I think it's a watch. Uh, Bottega
Glad I
Veneta
don't know these things.
fashion company, so I don't have to do that. I don't have to go and get a Montclair jacket, and stuff like that. It was at one point where I hadn't bought new tennis shoes in so long, until I'm like, oh, they now have a new app where it's called Sneakers. And this
Yeah.
is where you got to go and get your custom shoes. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. We used to
Yeah.
line up in front of the store on a drop day,
Forget that.
just like, oh, now you just order on the app. Oh, it doesn't work like being at the store either. Um, or saying, hey, I don't need to get those expensive jeans. I can go to Old Navy and get a pair of $22 jeans and wear the hell out of those, and like now I shop at Target, I shop at Walmart, and there's things that are fashionable enough for me, but I don't have to have a name brand. And I think that's where people get lost, but that's financial independence in that sense where I don't have to chase those high dollar things in order for me to feel comfortable. I feel comfortable with my own fashion, the own things that I do. Now, this is kind of crazy. I spent a lot of money on this hat, in my opinion. Hats now cost $50, which is crazy, where it used to be like $26 for a fitted cap back in the day.
Yeah.
But now they're $50. That's outrageous, but they are making them a little bit better. This is it's a nice, well made cap, So that's what I think about when it comes to financial independence, man. Smart moves, spending money where you need to spend it. Understanding how, hey, if I go and buy a car, especially if you have an LLC or a business under your name, how you can depreciate that, right, and be able to drop money off of your taxable income for the year. Those are smart money decisions, things like that, and it's easy for you to go and get an LLC and potentially file a loss over the next 10 years because you've lost money every
Yeah,
single
but you
year.
need, yeah. But people be careful
Yeah,
because you can have tax fraud.
yeah. I
You
am
actually
not
have to be
CPA,
operating a business.
and I am not giving financial advice
Uh,
from a certified standpoint, but these are things that I've learned over my lifetime as well. But definitely make sure that you talk to a CPA or a financial advisor, tax advisor
if you
before
have
you make any
questions.
decisions.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
our disclaimer.
So pursuing financial independence is really just for you is more about making, those economical trade-offs, just being economically savvy and
Yeah,
having a little bit of and being frugal when necessary
yeah,
for your means.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, it's one of the things where also is I would add on and saying this the pursuit of that financial independence, it really has to be a narrative for yourself. Like for instance, if you don't see yourself, try so very hard to not think about descendants, right? Because it is, while that is important, I think you can teach good habits and good ways of living just through osmosis,
Hmm.
and there's no guarantee that leaving a nest egg to your descendants will put them in a better position, because if they do not know how to use it, they will lose it. and they will lose it fast. And also, as far as saving, there, I mean, I think who's Dame Dash famously said, "Saving is for suckers." It can be, right, because you look at a culture like Japan, who are amongst the biggest savers in the world, but guess what? They produce nothing, right? Their economy is crap because no one spends, right? And so, yes, you were planning for retirement, but live your lives, right? Because at the end of the day, you're putting money into a capitalistic society that you may not agree with. You are filling the pockets of corporations when you're putting your money into the marketplace. So just understand that if the world is not how you see it should be, you can keep that money for yourself. There's no rule that says that you need to put that money into a 401k account, right? When you get it, you can literally get all of it. You can get all of it and do what you want with it, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's just to say you have choice. So it's not one size fits all. For the most part, if you've been working at a place or have been in your career for, I would say, 10 or more years, you will be fine. Right? Worried about like your lifestyle will not be the same when you're 75 years old. You will be wondering how you can spend all that loot.
Well, that
You know what I'm saying?
here's the thing. You better hope you make it to 75.
Right? Exactly. Right? And it goes back to the whole scarcity point. It's just like you're so far 30 years from now thinking about like what you're gonna be doing, how you're
Yeah.
gonna be spending it, and it's just like, hey, live your life today,
Yeah.
right? What do you need today? And there's not one person, I haven't been in one conversation where someone says, so how's your 401k looking?
Yeah.
Because no one cares. Right? No one cares. You could have a fat 401k and not wake up tomorrow.
Yeah. You good. For
You know,
sure.
so so live your lives, folks.
Yeah. Live your life, but be able to I think there's a certain percentage of risk that you want to be able to take as well. And then there's a certain bit of reserves that you want to be able to have as well. Um, and I've taken multiple risks. I've had to change jobs and go from corporate America to being um, my own boss and having my own business and going back to corporate America. But you have to be willing to bet on yourself.
Always.
So,
Always.
while it is great to have this big old nest egg sitting in this account and you can't touch it to a certain extent until you're 59 and a half or whatnot, uh, there's also another piece of you that should be willing, and we've talked about this the other day, of saying, hey, let's go ahead and pull that trigger and let's go ahead and escalate some of these funds in this manner and go this direction, right? I've done that. I did it in the COVID year where, they made your 401k accessible to you, your entire 401k. And I was like, you know what?
Be free.
Let's go. Let's do it. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and escalate that. Give me give me some of this here. And I'm gonna go on and invest in a house for myself. Buy me a new build house and did it. And it's worked out just wonderful.
Yeah.
I've gotten back to a point where, the funds that I've taken out, they are just about back there. Plus more, in that sense. So I'm like, it was a very good risk that I've taken, but the 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 worst risks that you could take are the ones that you don't make. The chances, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is all day. So,
Miss a
to anybody
thousand, miss a thousand shots that I don't take. Michael Scott.
that you don't take, exactly. But and for anybody out there that's listening, it is one of those like that. If you thought about that business, go ahead and do that business. You know, Go ahead and pull the trigger and say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to open up a t-shirt company. Go ahead and do it. And you can't listen to the naysayers and that are like, well, why are you gonna open up? Why are you gonna open up that t-shirt company? It's like, well, there ain't just one hamburger selling place out there, right? There's not just McDonald's. There's Jack in the Box. There's Wendy's. There's not just one chicken place. There's not just Popeyes. There's KFC. Everybody sells it. There's not just one type of car out there. There's multiple types of cars. They all have four wheels. Some have more, but they all are the same in the sense that they get you from point A to point B. And if somebody would have said, well, Ford is already making cars, so you can't make cars, right? That would have been the dumbest thing for somebody to say, well, you know what? I'm not going to try to make a car. There's already airplanes. There's already airlines. I'm not going to try to make another airline. That's stupid. So if it's your dream, go in and do it. Pursue it. But also be mindful that you gotta think about, is this money that I'm willing to lose that you're going to put into it? If so, just like investing in the market, if you
Oh, yeah.
have the money to lose, go ahead and play.
Yeah.
Go ahead and play.
I think, yeah, I think, and I think that's absolutely true. You definitely have to understand what your risk aversion might be. But at the end of the day, you have to go. You have to have courage and go after whatever it is that you want to go after. And yeah, don't let nothing stop you, even your own demons, so to speak.
That's a word for you. I know you're pursuing something and thinking about something. That's a word for
Oh,
you.
yeah, now, but I also test things too. And I recently made a decision about that too, where it's just like, all right, hey, the margins are there, and but the service model is not something that I can lead into.
Okay.
'Cause I tested it out for myself. I'm like, all right, X happened. Let me see the workflow. Oh, I don't love that.
Yeah.
And that's all I need to see.
There you go.
And there you go. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, nope. No.
Yeah. There you go.
So on the flip on the next idea, exactly. And that's what all is about being a CEO is, right?
Yeah.
Is that you have to make those executive decisions, and you have to make them in a short period of time, because if you give too much groupthink to something, if you give too much room to doubt yourself, you're ultimately going to have a level of regret. And having a level of regret is the thing that brings in scarcity, the thing that you're not passionate about it, because you're like, man, I don't really believe in this.
Yeah.
And if you are investing in something, even if it's making a good dollar, that you don't ultimately believe in, you won't be satisfied.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, let's talk about job satisfaction. Can you share a specific moment or experience in your career where you felt truly fulfilled and satisfied with your work, and what made that experience special for you?
Yeah, I think I have a few of those moments throughout my career. I've been in the industry that I'm in now. I've been in there. It'll be 14 years come uh next month. Uh which is like, man, it's 14 years. But I think I'm in the people leading business, and so developing people is always a positive thing for me. That's what gets my gears going. That's motivating for me to see people, again, like I said earlier, reach certain aspects in their life, whether it's financially, whether it's uh, just the career title itself. Uh, but one of the earliest ones that I had was having 14 people promoted off of my team in 1 year. And I call those my flowers, because no matter where I go within the company that I work for, I always have a flower planted in any department.
It's
So
a good
there's always
analogy.
somebody that knows me, that knows my ethic,
Mm.
uh, and how my needle goes as far as my morals, my ethical needle itself, what's my true North Star. But then I can also look at it in the sense where, this was me managing frontline employees and then transitioning to where I now lead leaders and seeing them develop and hit key performance indicators that they've never been able to achieve before, prior to my entry into the business. That's significant for me. And then also being able to have that transferable piece where I'm like, hey, we have to care about people, we have to promote people, we have to engage in people to where they are starting to feel that sense of satisfaction where they are starting to promote people. And they have, over, the last year promoted, or our first year together, we promoted 17 people. Second year, we promoted 18 people, and saying that this is a culture environment where our people are happy to show up at work. They are happy uh, to talk about what's happening within their personal lives and share that with you to say, hey, today I'm not great today because
Mm.
of A, B, and C, instead of them just coming to work and you're like, the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Finding it out later, and now you have to take some kind of progressive discipline towards them because something happened at home that they hadn't shared with you. But now you have that understanding where they came in today and say, hey, I'm not great today. I'm going to do what I can, but just know I'm not in a great place. And that's valuable, because now we can go different modalities and say, okay, well, let me get you to the employee resource team. Let me make sure that we connect you with this EAP program and get you some assistance because we're caring about the person in that sense. And we're breaking that wall between company and personal life. And now those two are bleeding and blending together in that sense. So um, those are some highlights that I can give to you.
It's good. I mean, I think it's critical at major corporations that you talk about that covering the veil of the corporate, because corporate is an entity, right? It doesn't have a personality, but it takes the people who are in leadership to curate that, right? And I think the buzzword that's attached to that a lot is culture,
Yep.
and we've seen that word culture kind of just sometimes it's in a good sense, sometimes it's ran through the mud, but really when you can have that inflection point where your employees feel that they can talk about their actual lives
Yep.
and there's not a sense of judgment there, that's where it's really good. At one point,
Yeah. Book here for you.
what's that called?
The
Culture
Culture
Code.
Code.
Yeah.
Very good book. Very good
We
book.
yeah. When I worked for a private company, we always we had a lot of book clubs.
Yep.
Where and one thing that we talked about a lot was the invisible spotlight, right? Is you can create that for people, but also how vulnerability is a superpower.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but I've also been in environments where
It's been
it,
toxic. It's hell.
it it's been toxic, but also if someone asks you, "Hey, how's it going?" Fine, right?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And you it's just one the space the it's never been it's seldom do you find a space where you have that curated platform from a leader who's actually there to develop and say like, yeah, where you feel comfortable actually like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna shoot the shit with you.
Yeah.
Right, regardless of what of that MS team meeting that's coming up in the hour that we're both in, that I know you want to talk about that bullshit and it's gonna be
Yeah.
fine. We both know it's gonna be fine, but you don't really want to talk about like, hey, I actually don't kind of want to talk in that meeting today because stayed up too late last, or some crap, right?
Yeah.
And so seldom do you find the opportunities to really talk about that unless unless you really know that person on a personal tip, and you guys have worked together for eons and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's great that there are companies there that put that first, right? That really emphasize that with your leaders, because a lot of the times that stuff is lost. And then that's what leads to burnout. That's what leads to quiet quitting. That's what leads to all the things that make someone not truly want to be there, and they're just like doing the job.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And we ain't
Uh,
gonna be 100%. And I'm gonna tell
oh
you
no,
this.
yeah,
Here's another perspective too. Everybody's not gonna like you.
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this is for anybody in a leadership role, supervisory role, or whatnot. Um, you can't have everybody like you. They're just not going to do that. And
no,
if they do like you to that sense where everybody likes you, then you're missing something.
yeah,
You're not holding people accountable somewhere, right?
no,
In that sense. So you always have to continuously fire up the engine, get people rolling, get people motivated to do more than what they've done the previous day, the previous week, the previous month, the previous year, because that's what growth, that's the growth mindset. And when people have that mindset every single day, that's what pushes the needle. But we build the culture when we talk about people and we talk to people and not at people. And there's another thing that I heard the other day. A lot of people say, I hear you, but are you listening?
yeah.
All right. And
Seldom are they actually listening.
that's the thing. So we
Yeah,
got to make sure that we're listening to people and hearing those things and also hearing what they're not saying at the same time, too. And be okay to probe and ask more and be curious about them. Because
yeah,
then once you're able to make that connection, build that bridge in itself, those people, man, they'll run through the wall for you.
yeah,
And that's where you get the true dynamic of a performing culture.
yeah. Instead of just a doing culture.
Yep.
And there's a lot of, I think there's also a lot of people who are in leadership just to lead the business, right? And and as far as like, if I were a CEO of a Fortune 200, right? I think one of the things that I would emphasize is leadership development training annually. Get better at doing that across the board.
Yeah.
If you and we're also going to clear the mud when it comes to what we call leadership, right? It's oh yeah, you're leading this initiative, but that doesn't leadership is saying we want more leaders, and your job is to cultivate that so that we can spread out this work. Right? So that we can go after more initiatives. So we're not sitting here. It doesn't take us 8 to 12 months to do something anymore, because you know why? We have more people that we can trust to
Yeah.
go do it. And I think sometimes, like when you have an MD who's been at the company for 15 plus years, 20 plus years, it's like, when's the last time? It's like the person who took the driver's test, they took the driver's test 40 years ago.
Managing director, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
But it's like, at what point was the last time that they checked in on their own leadership development skills?
Yeah.
When was that a requirement?
Yeah.
Right. And not even to the point where they have to check a box. It's like, make it an annual conference. I don't care. Bring them all in. Bring them all into a room.
Well, you started to be earlier about that. And I was telling you about LinkedIn Learning, right? And that's something that we do. And it's available, but it's one of those where it's like we became very intentional in saying, hey, you got to devote time to
you got to devote time to it.
Element, right? Because we get so busy into the thralls of just the day-to-day business activity that you turn around and it's like, oh man, it's 6 months. And it's like, I haven't grown. I've grown the business, but I haven't grown.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's going to do it for Financial Independence Part 2. Hope you all are liking what you're hearing. And if you are, please like, subscribe, and comment, and forward to your friends, and stick around. We're not done with this episode yet. There's special part 3 coming up. Stick around, and we'll see you soon. Peace.